up in the morning. Elohai neshama, shenatata bi tehora hi. Elohai neshama, shenatata bi tehora hi. My God, the soul that you have breathed into me, she is pure. And I recognize a place within us that travels with us throughout this life, and is yet pure and untouched. And let's sing. First, let's sing it with a lai la lai. Lai la lai, lai la lai, lai la lai, lai la
standing, and let's welcome the 4 and the 5 directions. Today we turn toward the, let's see, which direction do you want to? Let's go toward the east first. Sorry, you are in the east. Beautiful, beautiful sun shining through our Kabbalah there. This morning we welcome the east in this way. We say, give us the courage to have new visions for our lives and this planet. Powers of the East. Aho. Aho. Come and be with us now. And I think, it's nice to do in each direction, is to do something like clap or stand or something, make it clear. And we'll turn to the south. And in the south, we welcome you, powers of the south. Give us the courage to feel our passions and act upon them. Aho. Aho. And then we turn to the west. In the west, we ask the powers of the west to give us the courage to dive into our deep emotions and to feel all that needs to well up from the depths of us, to integrate it so that we can come into wisdom. Welcome, powers of the West. Aho. And then to the north. In the north, we welcome the powers of the great steadfast mountain that sees so many things come and go. And we ask for the courage to let go, to shed, to even shed our form, knowing that life is eternal. It lives in us. Aho. Aho. And then turn again this direction. We welcome now this 5th sacred thing. We welcome the sovereign in our center. We welcome our heart. We ask that in this center place that we would have courage to turn within to the seat of our own soul and reside there and live and speak from there. Aho. Aho. Thank you. You may be seated.
First, and then I'm going to have you repeat it back to me. Today, freedom is calling, and I am listening. I make conscious choices that plant seeds of faith and self-love, knowing I am worthy of every happiness. I'll say it a line at a time, and then if you could repeat it after me. Today, freedom is calling.
Today, freedom is calling.
And I am listening.
And I am listening.
I make conscious choices that plant seeds of faith and self-love. I make conscious choices that plant seeds of faith and self-love, knowing I am worthy of every happiness. Knowing I am worthy of every happiness. And now we will have a song by Cerise and Richard.
This little way.
Have you stand up in your seat? Just feel the body that brought you in the door this morning. How's it feeling today? Give it a little wiggle. Oh, your shoulders wiggle them. Yeah, your hips, all of those hips down there. On your neck and your head. Oh, don't hold too tightly, 'cause you got a lot of light to shine this morning. I know you do. Can you feel that little light inside of you? Look into the eyes of your neighbor and see if you can see a little light shining there. Say good morning in there, I see that light is shining. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.
Walking down the runway.
Last week, you might remember that we were celebrating Earth Day. And we talked about the Irish Celtic mythology of the Wheel of Life and how the center of the Wheel of Life is what's called the sovereign in it. And the sovereign for the Celts was the goddess, was the feminine divine. And so as I thought about it after last week, I thought we need to talk more about what is at the center. What is at the center of our world, and our lives, and how this ancient teaching might affect our lives. So I'd like to begin with a poem by Rilke. I love Rilke's poetry, don't you? And this is a little surprising and in contrast to the song we just sang about Let Our Little Light Shine. But Rilke always brings the dualisms together, the light and the dark, which is one reason why I love him, I think. And so he greets, first of all, at the center, the Great Mother. He says, "O Great Mother at the center, your darkness that I come from. I love you more than all the fires that fence in the world. For your central fire makes a circle of light for everyone. If no one outside learns of you, then the darkness itself pulls in everything. The darkness itself pulls in everything. She shapes and refines animals, plants, myself. How easily she gathers them all, powers, peoples. And it's possible that a great energy is moving near us. I have faith in nights. You darkness that I come from, Great Mother at the center, I love you more than all the fires that fence in the world, for your hearth fire at the core makes a circle of light for everyone. If no one outside learns of you, then the darkness itself pulls in everything. She shapes and refines animals, plants, myself. How easily she gathers them all, powers and peoples. And it's possible that a great energy is moving near us. I have faith in nights."
Having faith in nights. The song has a very simple refrain, and the words to the refrain are, "Say what you need to say." And that's it. Can you say that with me? Say what you need to say. And I don't think that the writer of the song is only talking about saying what we need to say in words, which is how we often think of saying our truth. But what is it that you really need to say? Is it a dance? Is it a song, a painting, a garden, a family, a journey? And to say those wonderful, precious things with the fullness of your voice, the voice of your being here. Take all of your wasted honor, every little past frustration. Take all of your so-called problems, you better put them in quotations. Say what you need to say what you need to say. Say what you need to say what you need to say. Got it now? Say what you need to say what you need to say. Say what you need to say what you need to say. Walking like a one-man army, fighting with the shadows in your head, living out the same old moments, knowing you'd be better off instead if you could only say what you need to 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 say. Say what you need to 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 say. So what is it that you need to say? So many things, right? You got a song in you. Do you have a dance in you? Do you have a hug in you? Do you got some love in you? Do you got the wind in you? Do you have the sunshine? Do you have a little bit of love to spread on the person sitting next to you? Do you have a little bit of something important that somebody needs from you? Do you have a journey you need to take? Or some love you need to make? Or a risk you need to take? Say what you need to say what you need to say what you need to say, oh, say what you need to 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 say, oh, say what you need to say what you need to say. Look at the person next to you and give them permission. They need to say. You know they have it. Say what you need to say. Say what you need to say. I'll hear ya. I'll say what you need to say. I'll come and see ya. Say what you need to say. I'm right beside ya. Say what you need to say. I want to hear it. Say what you need to say. Say what you need to say. Say what you need to say. I know it's beautiful. Say what you need to say. Say what you need to say. Say what you need to say.
That's a nice way to get it out in song. When you think of saying what you need to say, it can be scary at times. It's a challenge sometimes because we want to belong. We don't want to be shunned. We don't want to be judged by others. But there comes a time when we need to say what's in there. And we need to express the truth that we know deep inside. And so this word sovereign, sovereign. When you hear that word sovereign, what do you think about? Think about freedom, right? If a country is sovereign, then they're a sovereign nation. They're free to be who they are. Like Native American nations say that they are sovereign nations still, even though they're within this country. So free to be, free to live without bondage, to be in charge of one's own life. Here's a beautiful definition of what it means to be a sovereign individual. It's to deepen our connection to our fullest selves, our powerful, authentic selves. To be humble and secure, ruled by grace rather than by fear. To be sovereign is to step outside of our smaller egoic selves into the center, where we connect to the magic and beauty of serving life. Isn't that beautiful? To be humble and secure, ruled by grace rather than by fear. It just reminds me of a Native American person when I hear this. I just picture that as I read it. It's by Frank McCowan, that quote, who's the Celtic author that I've been reading last week and this week. The Celts are very much like indigenous native people. So they know about this sovereignty, ruled by grace rather than by fear, knowing that as we step into the center that we'll be with a truth there, a greater truth, and that truth will set us free. And knowing that then when we're set free to say what we need to say, to be aligned with truth and to speak from there, that then we will be beautiful, magical beings who appear to others as if doing miracles, as if creating connections that didn't exist and healings of long time, things that have been broken apart and disconnected. So stepping into that center. A few weeks ago when we were over at the Hidden Springs, we sang that song, I'm only here for God. The Celts would say, I'm only here for Goddess. I'm only here for good. So I'd like Arlene to come up now and read the scripture for today, which is from the Christian text from the book of Romans. And you may recognize it. It's one of my favorites.
From Romans 8:28. Meanwhile, the moment we get tired in the waiting, God's Spirit is right alongside, helping us along. If we don't know how or what to pray, it doesn't matter. The Holy Spirit does our praying in and for us, making prayer out of our wordless sighs, our aching groans. God knows us far better than we know ourselves, knows our pregnant condition, and keeps us present before the throne of grace. That's why we can be so sure that every detail in our lives is lived in love of God, is worked and into something good. Indeed, all things work together for good for those who love the goddess and are called according to her purpose.
Yeah. You recognize that saying, don't you? All things work together for good. Now, so this is an encouragement, to be with yourself and to trust that some of the things that you have to express and that you need to have the courage to say, if you'll say them, they will help things to work together for good in people's lives. Now, David White, do you know who he is? He's one of my favorite poets. Brit. He's been here in Ashland speaking, and he says it. He speaks what needs to be said, even if it's coming from a place of wondering or insecurity or doubt. He finds a way of speaking it and weaving it through his poetry to make good out of it. So I've asked Anya to come and read wonderful poem by David White about saying what you have to say. Just hold it, just hold it.
The house of belonging. I awake this morning in the gold light, turning this way and that, thinking for a moment it was a day like any other. But the veil had gone from my darkened heart, and I thought it must have been the quiet candlelight that filled my room. It must have been the first easy rhythm with which I breathed myself to sleep. It must have been the prayer I said, speaking to the otherness of the night. And I thought, this is a good day. You could meet your love. This is the black day. Someone close to you could die. This is the day you realize how easily the thread is broken between this world and the next. And I found myself sitting up in the quiet pathway of light, the tawny, close-grained cedar burning round me like fire, and all the angels of this housely heaven ascending through the first roof of light the sun has made. This is the bright home in which I live. This is where I ask my friends to come. This is where I want to love all the things that has taken me so long to learn to love. This is the temple of my adult aloneness. And I belong to that aloneness as I belong to my life. There is no house like the house of belonging. There is no house like the house of belonging.
It's a beautiful poem. So that poem makes us feel that sometimes we just have to come home to ourselves and look in the mirror and spend time with ourselves to come in touch with that sovereignty within. And so the next song is a wonderful song to highlight that, coming home to the house of belonging within ourselves. You're going to like this.
I remember seeing the video for this song on TV when I was probably about 11 years old and crying so uncontrollably at the images that were on the screen. And I think my generation was maybe one of the first that started to really see televised the entire world. You could see what was going on in different places in the world. And now, of course, it's instantaneous. But it was so powerful and really asked me about looking in the mirror. I'm gonna make a change for once in my life.
talented musicians. So, looking at the man in the mirror and knowing that we can make changes in ourselves, well, David White, he's a person who does that, looks in the mirror and makes changes, and so he wrote in this same poetry book, The House of Belonging, a poem that he wrote 10 years later after that one that Anya read, when he was feeling the urgency to go within and to examine himself, and he had the fears about if he would belong anymore if he did that. And so this poem is called 10 Years Later, and I've asked Karen to read it.
Years later, when the mind is clear and the surface of the now still, now a swaying water slaps against the rolling kayak. I find myself near darkness, paddling again to Yellow Island. Every spring, wildflowers cover the gray rocks. Every year, the sea breezes ruffles cold and lovely pearls hidden in the center of the flowers, as if remembering them by touch alone. A calm and lonely, trembling beauty that frightened me in youth. Now their loneliness feels familiar. One small thing I've learned these years, how to be alone. And at the edge of aloneness, how to be found by the world. Innocence is what we allow to be gifted back to us once we have given ourselves away. There is one world only, the one to which we gave ourselves utterly, and to which one day we are blessed to return.
So David White is a Celt. He's from Ireland, you know. If you hear him speak, he speaks in his Irish accent. So we just honor men like him, men who are of this nation of Ireland that has revered the divine feminine at the center of life since time immemorial. It makes them very special men. So David White's poems affirm to us that the goal of becoming a better person is within the reach of all of us at any moment. The goal of becoming a better person is within reach of all of us in any moment. Those verses that Arlene read to us from Jesus' sayings, that we can believe that all things in our lives work together for good for those who are called by this sovereign, this goddess at the center of it all. We are called to create out of our lives and out of our lineages in this incarnational destiny good, to create good on this planet. You are a very valuable and important person because you're here right now and you have it within your power to create good through your thoughts and words and actions. Well, the ancient Celtic people believed this with every bit of their being, and I think we can learn something from these ancient teachings that come from our heritage. A lot of us, as we look around the room, probably have Celtic heritage. That doesn't mean just Irish, you know. It means all throughout Europe for thousands of years, from Russia all the way across through Europe and up into England, Ireland, and Scotland. The people were called the Celts. So it's in the blood of us to know these things. In the ancient stories of Ireland, the goddess is called Sovereignty. And it's she who holds everything together. She's at the center of the wheel of life. That's why we did the 4 directions this morning, because it's she, the goddess Sovereignty, who's at the center. She's like a living hub of energy that connects all the diverse directions into the whole. Have you heard that word axis mundi? It's like the center axis of it all. In this sense, sovereignty is at the core and center of all life on the planet, and therefore somehow at the center of you. She is at the heart of our lives, guiding us along on the good red road, as Celtic and Native people call it. The good red road is the path of heart. So in the ancient lore of the Irish Celts, the sovereign goddess presents herself in many forms. She could appear to you as a maiden, or a mother, or a crone. She could appear to you as a bird, or a salmon, or a tree. She could appear in many forms, so you never know. When somebody is before you, who it is. It might be the goddess. So there's a famous old story from Celtic mythology. You've probably heard it before. And it goes like this. It's one of the most often told stories of the Irish. And it's about Percival, who was a precursor of Gawain, a precursor of Sir Lancelot. There are these men who are in search for the Holy Grail, who go out on their horses and search their whole lives after the Holy Grail. So listen to what happened to this one. His name was Niall. Niall of Nogilach. I don't know if I'm saying the Gaelic right, but Niall of Nogilach. And Nogilach means 9 hostages. So his name is Niall of the 9 hostages. And he happened to have 9 brothers. So I think it's talking about that they were hostages, not free persons. They weren't sovereign. They weren't free in their souls. So one day Niall and his brothers went traveling in search of the Holy Grail. At a certain point in their journey, they became thirsty and began to search for a spring, a well, a fountain. Eventually they came upon a source of drinking water, an ancient well, but it was guarded by a hideous old hag. The hag demanded a kiss in exchange for water. Well, 2 brothers, Fergus and Aileo, just looked at her and thought, no way, and they went the other direction and they stayed thirsty. Who knows what happened to them? And then Fiacra, one of the other brothers, thought, well, he'll just kiss her on the cheek. And so it didn't work, though. She just scowled and scared him, and he ran away. But finally it came to Niall, and he watched all of his other brothers do what they did and not get any water to drink. And so he thought to himself, he felt inside of himself it was the right thing to do to kiss this old woman on the mouth. And so he kissed her in a deep, long kiss. And she took him then by the hand and led him to the spring and gave him water. And then she led him to her abode in the forest. And when she took him into her home, she asked him to kiss her again. And as he did, she turned into a beautiful maiden. And not only did they have kisses, they had many other wonders that unfolded. And the next day when Niall came out and was looking for his brothers, he was in the arm of this beautiful woman. And she was the goddess of the forest. She was the sovereign one. And she pronounced to him and to all of the brothers that Niall would be the king of the land, and that his own lineage for many years to come would be the rulers and the leaders in this land. So there's a lot in this story. In an expanded version of this same story, the hag asks male questers, what does a woman want? Have you heard that story? And eventually, after the male questers went through many tests, they found the right answer, and it was that the female wanted sovereignty. What do women want? They want sovereignty. Isn't that what all humans want? We want respect. We want to be seen for who we really are. We want the freedom to express ourselves, to express our truth in the world. So our great quest as humans is for this individual sovereignty. Jung called this our quest for individuation. When we come into a truly balanced state within, we're balancing our inner anima and animus, he called it, our inner male and female. This is the quest that we're on, really, is to get balanced inside of ourselves, to truly come into a healing of our inner masculine and our inner feminine. Isn't that amazing to think that the ancient Celts were on that quest that we're still working on nowadays? The quests that they went on, the interesting thing about all their initiatory quests, any one of them that you read about has a similar element in it. And you might be surprised to hear what that is, but the initiatory quests always occurred at the hands of the feminine, the goddess. And very often, the one testing them was what they call a Kailich. I think that's how you say it, Kailich. And that's the hag. The wizened crone figure who can be really scary. She's in her power. She's got nothing to lose. She's fierce. And she's not going to be chased away. So this hag appears in many, many Celtic stories when men and women are being tested as to who they really are, and if they really are brave enough to go through the tests involved to come into their true authenticity. So she appears in our lives too. She appears in forms that we don't want to kiss. She appears in ways that are our own shadow. She appears in ways that we are ourselves that may be distasteful to us. Ways that we might be overeating too much sugar, or ways that we are afraid of certain situations or people, or maybe we're addicted to shopping. There's ways that this distasteful one appears to us, and what we have to do is turn toward her, and like the Percival in our story, or the Niall, we have to find a way to embrace those unwanted, even horrific parts of ourselves, and draw them to ourselves, and, get the gift out of the shadow. So that's the work that I am doing with people all day long, every day, and I have to tell you that I'm really blessed, because I get to see people doing that, turning toward that embrace of whatever presents itself in their life that's troubling, and coming all the way through. Coming all the way through, and many of you here have done the journey to completion and have experienced the ability that you have when you turn to look at the man in the mirror to come all the way through. So we humans have within us a tremendous power of transformation. Ultimately, this center place that we have to go within is a place that lots of times the worldly world doesn't want us to go there, because it's a place of great power. So there's so many distractions to keep us from going there. Our media is constantly telling us that we need this and we need that, and we better make more money so we can buy this or that. There's lots of distractions, right? We all know there's lots of distractions that are without and within to keep us from turning to that man in the mirror. But it's time for us, us Unity people, us people here in Ashland that have a lot of advantages. Other people in the world might be being forced to go this path of heart, forced to become more vulnerable, but we've got a choice. And it's time for us to really do whatever we need to do to turn within and to find that time and that space to really get in touch with, are we on our destiny path? Is there any place in you right now that's a little imbalanced still? I've been looking at this in my own self. Is there any place in me that I've been doing the shadow work for years, and am I still imbalanced in some ways? And yes, of course I am. And it's time to look at those and really examine how now am I being called to come into greater balance in myself, because that calling is about coming into our royal personhood even more, our royal personhood. That's what was going on in Celtic Ireland when these questers were going on the search for the Holy Grail. They were searching for something that would give them what they thought was eternal life. We are all royal persons. We are all royal persons. Matthew Fox talks about this in his original blessing book, that we have come here from other dimensions, and we're in these forms. We come from royal dimensions. We humans do. And we forget that. And we come into these lives and difficult things happen to us, and the hags, so to speak, come to us, and we forget that everything that comes to us is coming to help us to have more balance in our lives, to get the gift out of it, and to remember the royal persons that we are. In the old times, it's said that the state of the land, like we could say of the United States, for example, the state of the land was always a reflection of how people were remembering that they were royal persons. Were they remembering or not that they were royal persons? So, for example, if the king was in harmony with the sovereign goddess within and was turning toward her and remembering that, then there would be well-being in all of the land. This was known for thousands of years. There was a story of this one king called Conair Mac Mes Buchala. Conair for short, I'll call him. And it said that when he was in his reign, that he really did honor the sovereign goddess within him. And it said that he married her within himself. This is what we're all being called to do, to marry her. What does that mean? To marry the goddess within, whether we're male or female. In native cultures, they talk about marrying the plant medicine, that shamans have to marry the plant medicine. In Celtic culture, they talk about marrying the earth, marrying the sovereign who is at the center, who is Tara, who is the earth. What does this mean for us? We're going to turn within and then marry the sovereign, who is the earth. When this King Conair did it, it said this, it said, "Since he assumed his leadership, no cloud has veiled the sun for the space of a day from the middle of spring to the middle of autumn." It was a pretty nice summer, huh? "And not a dewdrop had fallen from grass till midday. And the wind would not touch a cow's tail until noon. And no wolf attacked anything, save one bull calf on each byre. In Conair's reign are the three crowns of Aaron, namely the crown of corn ears and the crown of flowers and the crown of oak mast. In his reign, each man deems the other's voice as melodious as the strings of harps. Because of the excellence of Conair following the law of the sovereign, peace and goodwill prevailed throughout all of Ireland." So, I'm just reading this to you to say that this is an ancient thing that people have known, that if we turn within, to the goddess within, and get ourselves in alignment with the sovereign, that tremendous good will come in the land. Wouldn't that be amazing if our leaders in our nation would do that? Would remember their royal personhood and not be grasping for all this power and all of the addictive ways. If we really did this, if we really saw the effect that our lives were having on the balance of nature and of things all around us, I think we would make much bigger changes in our lives. Like maybe we wouldn't be, just little things like drinking all the water out of plastic water bottles. There's so many ways that we can still make adjustments in our lives to be more aware of our marriage to the earth, our sovereign who needs us to turn to her so that we can come into our center and our balance and our power within. So many people are struggling right now with addictions and with things that are leading them away from this sovereign in the center. I just want you to think for a moment. It's just, like a moment of examining yourself right now, and just ask yourself, are you, or is anybody you know, being led away from the sovereign, from this marriage to the earth, from this turning within and being centered in ourselves? Are you being led away by anything that you're up to right now? Are you getting in your car and driving too much, maybe? It could be just little things. Or are you working too hard? Or are you eating too much? Let's just really, get honest with each other. And this is another part of saying what we need to say. Like we need to say things to ourselves to wake ourselves up. We might need to say things to somebody close to us, to say, hey, I've noticed something happening here, and maybe you need to come home to your sovereign within. Because the antidote to any imbalance in our life, this feedback loop of dysfunction in our lives that keeps on going, this imbalance, the antidote to it is to cease our habitual tendency to look outside of ourselves for the answers. We've got a big tendency in our society to always be looking outside of ourselves for the answers. Caitlin Matthews, again, this wonderful Celtic author, says that true self-respect is not selfishness, but our duty to the soul and its soul shrine within. True self-respect, we have a duty to our soul shrine within. It includes caring for our body, our mind, our soul, our spirit, and enabling us to relate to those who give us love and support us, as well as those who challenge and stretch us. So she's saying that when we turn and take care of our soul shrine within, do rituals with it, marry it, come to really honor this shrine within, that we're going to take better care of ourselves, and we're going to be able to take better care of everyone around us. We need to give what she says a deep hospitality to ourselves. And that's what the Celts were all about, is offering a deep hospitality in their homes to anyone who comes. They always kept the hearth fire burning. So it's about us making sure our hearth fire is burning, and then being able to offer a deep hospitality to those around us. We can think of people on our planet who've done that, who are real models for us. Like I think of Mother Teresa. Talk about offering hospitality and a beautiful being serving life energy in the world. I think of Aung San Suu Kyi. Is that how you say her name? In Burma. She spent many years in prison because she said what she had to say. But she kept the soul fires burning of the whole nation of Burma because she said what she had to say. I think of Nelson Mandela of South Africa, who kept the soul fires burning because he said what he had to say. Think of Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, who kept our soul fires burning. I think of Thich Nhat Hanh and of Julia Butterfly Hill, who went into their center. They went through a lot of hard things, but they got in touch with their sovereign, and they loved the tree. She loved the tree like her own self. And Thich Nhat Hanh, who talked about loving the pirate who was taking advantage of his people and hurting his Vietnamese people. Going within, looking at the man in the mirror, loving ourselves, and then we have this magic to give to the world. Like at one point, Jesus had just fed 5,000 people. He had just given a lot of nurturance to the world, a lot of hospitality. And the people were all flocking around him. Thousands of people were coming and wanting what he had to give. And he turned to those closest to him and he said, I want you to know something. This bread that I'm giving out, it's my body. And this wine that you're all drinking, it's my blood. Do you still want to follow me, knowing this? And it said that at that point, many thousands left him because they said it was harsh words. So this is what I'm getting at here. Some of us, it's time for some of us to take it real seriously and say, I'm going to take this all the way. I'm going to bring goodness through this incarnation in my body and do whatever I have to do to bring it all the way through. And it might look like sacrifice sometimes. It might look like not just reaching out and getting all of our needs met in the way that we have, but that kind of sacrifice is what leads us to the true prosperity of our souls. No. So Peter turned to Jesus when he said that to his close followers. "Are you going to leave me too?" he said. And Peter turned to him and said, "But where else can we go for the bread of life? Where else can we go? There's nowhere else. We have to do this. We have to do it in this way that Jesus did it, that the ancient Celts did it. We have to go on these deep quests and turn within and deal with our own shadow and integrate the gift of it, and then have a great warmth of acceptance and hospitality to give to the world." In conclusion, there's this song from my childhood that I started singing this morning as I was coming to this understanding and this conclusion once again in it. And the song goes, "Come to the waters." See, this is what Persephone and the knights were doing. They were looking for those healing waters, looking for the Holy Grail to drink, but they came upon these waters. So the song says, "Come to the waters. Come to the fountain. Come to the river. There's plenty here, you won't be denied. Come to the waters. Come to the river. Come to the fountains." What does that mean? What does that mean to you? What do you have to do right now in your life to come to the fountains where you might meet some difficult thing, some hag, and you might have to kiss something. You might have to embrace something that you haven't wanted to embrace, but when you come to these waters, there's plenty there. There's life energy. There's what life on this planet is all centered around, this life energy. The Tuath Didanan. Tuath Didanan. Have you ever heard of them before?
Yes.
Tuath Didanan. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but they were the original peoples on Ireland. There are original peoples all over this planet, and they always honored the sacred springs and the sacred waters, and they knew that those were very sacred places, that those places were places that life energy was calling for purification and healing. Do you know where we live? We live in this place called Ashland that's built upon very sacred waters. The native people of this area wouldn't build houses here where we are in the valley because the waters were so sacred. And they came, they called everyone from the surrounding areas once a year, and they stayed up in the hills. And then they would come down to this valley, to these sacred waters, to drink of the fountains, to cleanse in the river, to bathe in the hot springs, knowing that they would be cleansed, and then that they would have much to say. And so they called this place the mouthpiece of Mount Shasta. The mouthpiece of Mount Shasta. So this is the magic that we're living in right here. We're a very blessed people who get to be living here in this particular place with these healing waters and with this calling to be the mouthpiece of the sovereign Mount Shasta, the great sovereign in our midst. Let's hear that calling and say what we have to say. Oh. Did you like that?
River she flows and flows onto the sea. Freely the gift of life she brings. Wherever she flows and she goes in peace. All day long, all night long, wherever she flows and she goes in peace.
It was the perfect meditation, wasn't it? Feel it taking place in me as you sang it, Richard. Our marriage with the Sovereign. Can you just take a hold of the hand of somebody next to you right now? Sovereign, Goddess, she who created this whole thing. We honor you. We love you. We invite ourselves to remember you, that we are in you, that you are in us. And in some so deep and unfathomable way, you are calling us to be the good ones, to be the ones who bring it all the way through, to be the ones who see our planet through to our next stage of completion, to see our own selves, our own bodies, our own terra firma, our own precious lives through, all the way through to completion and wholeness and goodness. And we thank you that we don't have to do this alone, that we have each other. We have this wonderful community of support and encouragement. And we have you in our center, breathing in us, enlivening us, just like you're doing to the trees that are budding and the birds that are singing and laying their eggs and the grasses that are growing. You're inside of us. You are changing and healing and growing us through every single thing that happens to us. And we praise you and thank you, our Sovereign. We honor you as our ancient ancestors honored you. We love you and adore you. And thank you for this opportunity to give ourselves to life. And we recommit right now to saying what we have to say and being who we have to be to bring these incarnational destinies all the way through. Feel the strength in the hands next to you. Feel the determination and the commitment, the knowing that we can do this. Yes, we can. And give the hand a squeeze and then let